everyone, and welcome to my May Recent Reads wrap-up. I read a lot of amazing books in May, so let's talk about some of my favourites from the month. I'm going to start with my absolute all-time favourite out of this list because it was so good I cannot leave it to the end, and that book is How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying by Django Wexler, because this book was absolutely genius and everything I was looking for within a book, because this is all about Darvi, who is a woman from our world who woke up one day in a fantasy world and has been stuck there and within a time loop for the last 1,000 years, and that time loop involves her waking up on a mountain told she is the chosen one, rallying the troops, trying to fight the Dark Lord, nearly defeating him, and then dying and resetting. And she's been stuck in this loop for the last 1,000 years until one day she decides, screw this, I'm going to become the Dark Lord myself and actually do some havoc here. And it is so much fun to read. I love this book so much because I love it when heroic characters turn villainous, and that is exactly what this book is. This is Darvi trying to become a villain and trying to become the Dark Lord, rallying her minions and all of this kind of thing as she is travelling across this fantasy world to try and win the title of Dark Lord. And it is so much fun. It reminds me a lot of Terry Pratchett in terms of the sense of humour in here. There was also a lot of footnotes in here which reminded me of Terry Pratchett, which I absolutely loved. I loved the fantasy world in here as well. I loved how it explored all of these different types of creatures and orcs and all of this kind of thing. I love that our main character as well of Darvi was bisexual as well, and that was made very, very clear on page. There is also a female-female romance in here that's starting to sort of come together throughout this book, and I'm sure it's going to carry on into the next one. So that was absolutely fantastic. I love the world of this one. The storyline was absolutely hilarious. I loved it so much, and it was exactly the type of storyline that I've been wanting to read for such a long time now, and this absolutely brought it on every single level. I adored it every single second of it. I will be talking about this more in a reading vlog as well, where I read all of the other books I'm about to mention as well, so keep an eye out for that one, because I go into a lot more detail there and read out quotes and everything else. But it is safe to say that this is one of my all-time favourite books now. It was incredible and I cannot recommend it enough. It was hilarious and brilliant and it was just so good. I've got no other words to describe this apart from absolutely fantastic, and I am now desperate to read the sequel, which I'm hopefully going to be doing this month, because this book was so much fun and I just want more from it. It was so good. I also read Dreadful by Rozakis for that exact same reading vlog. It was a villains-based reading vlog, by the way, if you couldn't tell by these last two books, and this was a really good time to read as well. What I loved about this one was that it was a little bit more of a cozy book in a lot of ways, because we're talking about a guy who has woken up in a villain lair with absolutely no memory of who he is or what's going on or anything else, and it turns out he is actually the dark wizard of this lair, and he is actually the evil villain of the piece, and he is in the middle of a massive ritual, and he's got to try and figure out what to do from here. And this was a really fun one. I really love seeing Gav work out what to do next and trying to be sort of like this dark wizard without being too evil, while also trying to sort of keep the other people from knowing that he isn't actually the Dark Lord Gavrax anymore, because he's got no memory of it. I loved all of that. I also loved how this explored how we present ourselves to the world and what we show to the world, and how we use our looks and things like this to try and basically get ahead in life in some cases. I loved all of that kind of thing. It was really, really funny in places as well, and it was a really, really fun time. And again, I talk about this a lot more in that reading vlog, but this was a really solid, fun read as well. I've just had to turn on a light because it's starting to get dark in here, so apologies if we've now got some weird shadows, but the next one I read was Starter Villain by Scalzi. And this one was, again, such a good time. And this one is following a guy who's very much down on his luck, suddenly inheriting his uncle's villain business and trying to figure out what to do with it, what this all means, how to deal with the sentient cats, the enemies who want to kill him, as well as the talking, very insulting dolphins and everything else that goes with it. And this was hilarious to read. The satire on this one was absolutely on point. Again, it reminded me a lot of Terry Pratchett in terms of how it satirised everything in our world. I thought that was absolutely absolutely brilliantly done. This was my first Scalzi. It is definitely not going to be my last because this was so inventive, so much fun. I loved reading it so much. I flew through it when I read it and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Another book I managed to read, which was actually not for that reading vlog, was Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson, and this was again incredible. This one is following a bunch of witches who used to be in a coven, but after a massive war have all split off from each other, and what happens when one day there is a prophecy coming along about a person called Leviathan who is going to break down everything, and how they all react and how they all deal with this. And I thought this was brilliantly done. The world in this was absolutely excellent. I love how it was all set out and how you really sort of felt immersed in the world immediately. I loved how diverse all of these characters as well, because there were several LGBTQI plus characters, all of this kind of thing that was very much explored throughout this book. I love seeing all of these witches' points of view and how they are dealing with the situation, as well as everything to do with Leviathan. It was done brilliantly well. What I will say about this book though, before I go any further with it, is to say that there is a transphobic character in here who makes it explicitly clear that she is against trans people, specifically trans women, and she spends a lot of time spouting this transphobic rhetoric, but at the same time it is very much made clear by the rest of the characters that this is wrong. They do not agree with her whatsoever and they are fully supportive of the trans character in this book, so just be warned about that. If you are going to be reading this book, there is transphobic rhetoric in here, but it is made explicitly clear on page that this is wrong and that none of the other characters actually believe this or agree with her in any way, shape or form. But outside of that, I also want to mention that I did love how this book also talked about how power corrupts and things like this. I thought it was done fantastically, along with the rest of the storyline, the world, the characters, everything else. I am definitely going to be continuing on with this series because I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And also I have to shout out as well Nicola Coughlan in this, because she read the audiobook for this book and she did an incredible job, because throughout this book she is using multiple accents, because she's obviously using her usual Irish accent, but she's also using Scottish accents, New Orleans accents, and a whole load of other accents as well. And quite frankly, she made that look easy throughout here, as she is switching between each accent effortlessly, and it was done fantastically well. I adored her narration so much and I thought she did brilliantly. This book was brilliant. I absolutely loved it and I cannot wait to continue on with this series. Then as for the comics I read, the first one I need to mention is Doctor Strange in Asgard issue 3 by Derek Landy, and this one was again so much fun. I can't give you too much detail just because this is the latest ongoing for Doctor Strange, but it was again so much fun. It was Doctor Strange, trolls, fighting, Asgardian fun, and just all round good fun. I really enjoyed this one and I am so excited for the next one to come out. I also reread Winter Soldier's Second Chances. This is by Kyle Higgins and it sees Bucky after he has basically decided that he's going to try and help people in dangerous situations get to safety, and what happens when he comes across a kid who is being trained to be an assassin, very much like he was when he was that kid's age. And it all goes from there and it was a fantastic read. I really love seeing more of Bucky in this one and seeing how he sort of views his past and as he's trying to protect this kid himself. I love seeing his relationship with Sharon in this one as well, because those two had a really interesting dynamic, along with his dynamic with Tony throughout here as well. And if you are a Bucky fan, you cannot go wrong with reading this one. It was so much fun. I had a fantastic time reading it. Even on the reread, it was just a great time. And the final thing to mention is Sarah Gailey's White Widow, Welcome to Idlehaven. And this is all about Yelena trying to make a life for herself in a community and what happens when she tries to protect it from a corporation that's trying to take over the entire community. And this was so much fun to read as well. I really love getting to know Yelena that little bit better throughout this one, because usually she's paired off with people. So it's really nice to see her have that time to shine by herself and getting to know her that little better, as she's learning basically about herself at the same time, learning what she likes, what she dislikes, who her friends are, who her friends aren't, how she makes friends, all of this kind of thing. It was a really fun time. I really loved it. The standout moment for me in this one, I will say, is when she is talking about the Eiffel Tower and how she dislikes it basically because it's really difficult to climb, which kind of just sums up Yelena as a person entirely. So I really loved that about this one. I loved it in general. I thought it was fantastic. And if you are a fan of Yelena, you cannot go wrong reading this one because it was a really, really fun time. And that is some of my favourite things I read in the month of May. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me your favourite book in May. I'd love to know. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me a book stack emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is filled with all things Marvel Comics at the moment. So if you want to know more about Yelena, Bucky, or anybody else in the Thunderbolts actually, all of that will be linked down below so you can check it out for yourself and learn about them more and get all those book recommendations. Or if you just want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But till next time everyone, bye!